in the world is Meghan Markle? Much like the Carmen Sandiego inspired outfit she wore, Meghan Markle is missing, and many are wondering, well, where is she? Hello everyone, welcome to Royal News Network. My name is Brittany, and today we are talking about the very strange case of the missing Meghan. Yes, the so-called Duchess of Sussex is holed up in her Montecito mansion, and she has not done anything associated or affiliated with her husband's publicity tour for his book, Spare. And that is somewhat surprising. Even in their various individual interviews, I feel like one of them has always popped up at some point. So it's rather surprising that Meghan has not been included in any way. Now, I'm not saying that she should be interviewed as part of it or something, but I was surprised she didn't at least meet with somebody, or there wasn't a moment where she shook hands with like Anderson Cooper or something like that, and that she really much stayed away from this. And we're getting reports now from the Telegraph that she had actually expressed gentle concerns to her husband, Harry, regarding this book. And perhaps she realized that not only did it make him look a little bit stupid, but her too. She does not come across well in this book. And we've seen this in the reaction where their popularity has cratered in reaction to this book. Instead of telling their story more and more, making people like them more, it's making them like them less. And I feel like it's slowly dawning on Harry and Meghan that their Hollywood dream might be starting to disintegrate on them, and that perhaps squealing on the royal family and not creating their own brand of value has really bit them in the backside. And so we're going to go over this a bit today, and I'll share with you some of the insights that I have. But if you guys haven't been here to Royal News Network before, like I said, my name is Brittany, and on this channel I provide compelling royal commentary about the latest news and sometimes a little bit of gossip as well. In addition, I will be reviewing television shows and movies and sharing a bit about history too. So if you guys are interested, feel free to subscribe. We're slowly closing in on 100,000 subscribers, and I am so excited. So if you guys would subscribe, it would make my day, it would make my heart so happy. Also, I have a couple of links down below to my weekly newsletter, Royal Wire. I also have a Instagram page, and I also have a trip upcoming to London. So if you want to spend a couple days in London and in the Cotswolds with me, we'll be going to the Tower of London, Westminster Abbey, St. Paul's, Kensington Palace, Buckingham Palace. We'll be just trying to do as much in London as we can for the couple days that we're there. It'll be a wonderful trip, and I still do have some spots available, but the window is slowly beginning to close. So if you guys want to check that out, again, I'll have a link in the description box. But before we investigate the case of the missing Meghan, we do have one royal who we very much know where she is, and that is Catherine, the Princess of Wales. So she held a council today. So she brought together 8 members of what she is considering basically a team of experts to help her in roundtable ways to address this issue of early childhood development, specifically the first 5 years of life. She and many other in the psychological and medical community have deemed those first 5 years very critical to children in their development and their success later on in life in many ways. And so she's really taking this opportunity to really expand that. There will also be a big announcement next week regarding this topic. So she met with them today at Windsor Castle. She looked very chic in her Alexander McQueen blazer and shirt and trousers, so she looked really fantastic. And I think this again is a wonderful project, and one that she can not only utilize here in the UK or in the UK there, but across the Commonwealth, because those first 5 years of life are really critical just even for medical survival. If you can last the first 5 years of life, your chances of survival into adulthood in, let's say, some very poor areas of the developing country is very high. So I think this is something that has been a wonderful blessing for Catherine to have something she can really engage in, because one of my criticisms of her and many others is that for especially the first couple of years of her marriage, she didn't really seem to do much. So she really at least now has a program that she is attached to and growing. And so it'll be great to see what the announcement is next week for this program and how she's going to continue to evolve it. It'll also be interesting to see how she evolves it after her kids are out of that 1 through 5 age. So Louis will turn 5 this year. And so she's really past that critical stage that she's focusing on. So I imagine in the future, as her children become teenagers and those years of life really hit her and William hard, I think they'll probably go, yeah, we need something to discuss what to do with our young children, our teenagers too, because this is really hard. This is really hard. So it'll be just really great to see how they continue to evolve that. So it was wonderful to see her again at this event today. And on to the case of the missing Meghan. Yes, a lot of people have been raising eyebrows going, where is Meghan? And I will say, Meghan has always struck me as somebody who loves loves publicity. Now, it's the publicity she wants, not the publicity that she's always getting anymore, but that she really wants this fame and fortune and basically notoriety. And so she even put in her yearbook, we saw this in her own documentary, that she put in her yearbook, when I'm rich and famous. So this was always a driver to her. I've always been of the opinion that she loved the press attention when she first got together with Harry. And even before their relationship went public, she was coyly trying to reference it in Instagram photos, because she was wearing a similar bracelet to the one Harry has, which she obviously does not wear anymore. She wears the Cartier Love bracelet. She doesn't deem herself worthy, I think, of wearing the African bracelet she used to have. And so she would post this in a lot of pictures. And so I think she was coyly trying to get the media to catch on. And then obviously the news broke and she had the smushing bananas. And I feel like she's like, oh, I didn't realize smushing bananas would get so much attention. And I'm like, of course you did. You're in Hollywood. This idea that the press attention was so unfamiliar to her, I was like, well, yeah, it was, because nobody cared who you were. And if you go back even to Tom Bower's book, what I found really fascinating is that he really lays out, I think in a good way, that Meghan's focus on publicity and fame meant that she was paying up the wazoo for Sunshine Sachs, her PR firm. I think actually most of Meghan's net worth went to Sunshine Sachs. I think once she got her position on Suits, that gave her enough money to pay Sunshine Sachs a lot to try to get her a lot of attention. I think that's what she wanted. And she obviously just didn't have a ton of talent, because unfortunately your PR team can only do so much if you're a bit player on Suits. If you're getting an Oscar-worthy role, yes, your PR company can really help you. But when you're middling and low tier like Meghan was, it just wasn't going to go anywhere. So when she caught up with Harry, all of a sudden, bada bing, bada boom, she was in the headlines. But they weren't the headlines she wanted. Meghan has always wanted us to see the mythologized version that she has of herself. We even see this in the recent interview with our documentarian Liz, where she's talking about how Harry and Meghan are so consumed with their own love story that they wanted that to be the sole focus of their documentary. And Liz is like, yeah, no, I don't think that'll work. And I think part of it is that Meghan and Harry seem to think that they're star-crossed lovers and their worlds would have never collided. But it's like, but Meghan went to the UK paying a professional PR person in the UK to promote her among UK circles, to get her in various UK circles, to raise her profile, to get her on this track of meeting somebody like Millie McIntosh, who was part of Made in Chelsea. One of the stars of that, Spencer Matthews, his brother is Pippa Middleton's husband. So there's a lot of connections there. So Meghan was very much trying to join the fame train and trying to go up the social ladder. Harry was just the dullard who married her. No offense to Harry or Meghan, but that's what I think. He was just the guy who was just utterly fascinating, while most guys were like, the veneer is nice. And I think she's exceptionally charming, but I think a lot of people see through the charm pretty quickly and see it for what it really is, which is to a certain extent a narcissistic trait. And so Meghan has always been obsessed with fame and fortune, and so it is surprising that she was not a part of this publicity tour. But this article from The Telegraph, I think, reveals something very critical, which is that Meghan had reservations about this. She was concerned about it, and she didn't like how she perhaps came across, and she wanted to very publicly distance herself from this project to show this is all Harry. This has nothing to do with me. And I don't think that's a particularly good sign for Harry, really. I don't think it shows that perhaps their marriage is on the best footing, or that she is all that supportive of him in certain ways. Because to me, and I said this in another video, why in the world, if you loved your husband, why would you allow him to write a book where not only he looks stupid, but you look stupid too? And so I just found it fascinating that Meghan would let this go through, and perhaps maybe she didn't have a ton of control over it and things like that. Although I will say probably at the end of the day, it came down to the fact that you signed a contract and they're going to hold you to it. No matter what you say, no matter how much you kick and scream, no matter how much your children's title's on the line, Random House or Penguin Random House or whatever, they gave you $20 million, and guess what? They want their $20 million worth, and so they're going to make you work for it. So this is something I think really, again, very, very interesting to consider, and wondering what Meghan is doing. And I think The Telegraph actually brought up a lot of these things, and it's actually a really fascinating piece. So let me share some of that with you. Since leaving the royal family, it begins, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have preferred to appear as a pair. We're like salt and pepper, Meghan opined in an interview. We always move together. And we saw this even in the cut interview, which I think is what that's referencing. Talking about how in their office, they have matching chairs as if they're matching thrones. Not only do they live together, they work together. And not only do they work together, they work on the same table. They work at the same desk. They have matching chairs, which the author of the cut described as thrones. Harry and Meghan just seem to have this very codependent dynamic. And so that Meghan isn't there, just again, is really surprising. If they're like salt and pepper stay together. So why didn't Meghan just even appear very briefly, introducing herself to Anderson Cooper or walking them around their house? It was very strange that none of the interviews were conducted at their home. I feel like their home has become persona non grata for anyone after the disastrous cut interview. So in that interview, Meghan looked terrible. I did a whole interview on it. I'll link it down below. She seemed bizarre. Harry seemed bizarre. Actually, it was more Meghan. She, at one point in the cut interview, it starts talking about how she was making these guttural noises and Meghan is asking the author to describe these noises, and the author's like, what the heck is she doing? And so I feel like Meghan has come to realize that the more they talk, and especially the more they invite people into their home, the less control they have. It's all been about control. So that Meghan, I don't think is at any of these interviews, I think is huge because it's a control aspect of her. She's trying to control and protect herself from Harry's own stupid mistakes. But since Christmas, Harry has been left to soak up the limelight alone. As he embarked on an unprecedented publicity blitz to promote his memoir, Spare, this month, Meghan has remained below the radar and sent a clear message. This is Harry's project, not mine. That's huge. That is really huge. This is his project, it's not mine. But you're in it. You're his wife. You are, no matter what you think, you are attached to him. You have attached yourself, your reputation, everything to him. So yes, if he does a publicity tour for it, regardless of whether you're there or not and whether that's his project or not, you're attached to it. And he's also, again, telling their story yet again. And so it's just interesting that she seems to think that she's not attached in any way and that it's just his project. And Harry came in on her project on archetypes. Of course, again, at the end of the day, people are vastly more interested in Prince Harry and what he has to say than what Meghan Markle has to say. And so he just popped in here and there. But he is, I think, a critical part to her brand as well. You can't separate them because like they're matching thrones, they're collective, they're together, they're stapled together. Because you are married and you've made your marriage and your relationship and your love such a huge, critical, important part of your platform, you can't totally distance yourself from it. But that Meghan's trying, I think, does say she wasn't really all that enthused with this book, especially how she looks. As with anything to do with the Sussexes, there has been much sniping and speculation online about the Duchess's perceived influence. The book has Meghan's fingerprints all over it, some have claimed. Her voice throughout is unmistakable. She is the puppet master pulling the strings. So I think this idea that Meghan was the sole puppet master of this book, I don't think is necessarily true, because again, why would you let yourself and your husband look so insanely stupid at times? It's just a fascinating little thing that this book got so far. Like, Harry's frostbitten penis. As his wife, if I was Harry's wife, I'd be like, take that out now. Nobody needs to know that you thought of your mother when you opened Elizabeth Arden lotion and were about to put it on your penis. Nobody needs to know that. Why would anybody need to know that? Nobody needs to know that. So Harry, again, he doesn't know when to shut up. And Meghan also has, I feel like, diarrhea of the mouth. She feels like the more she talks, the more she can convince people of her perspective. I don't think that's necessarily the case, but I just don't understand why she didn't actually exert more control over Harry in this situation, because if I was Harry's wife, oh yes, I would have. While the Duchess has backed her husband to the hilt over this deeply personal outpouring, she was not quite the driving force behind the project that many have assumed. Sources suggest that media-savvy Meghan was slightly more circumspect about the concept of a memoir and may have raised gentle concerns about whether it was the right move. And I could definitely see that, because I'm sure Meghan was thinking, is this really what we want to do? Is this really going to work? And I think really the catalyst for this was the Queen's death. Once the Queen died, I think any cards they had to play were vastly diminished. Charles is in charge. William is in charge. Because you gotta remember, when it came to Mexit, Harry and Meghan still wanted to get a salary from the Duchy of Cornwall. They still wanted Charles's money. Well, that Duchy of Cornwall now is controlled by William. Charles controls the Duchy of Lancaster, and what he has to do with that is divvy that up among his siblings now. So I'm sure his siblings got perhaps an inheritance from their father and their mother then, but when it comes to the crown estates and everything, Charles controls that. So they are really at the mercy of Charles. And so Charles has a lot more people to support, whereas Catherine and William now, they just have their family. They can make some decent investments, make some pretty decent money. The Duchy of Cornwall is worth over $1 billion. Now, granted, they don't get full control over that in the way a normal person would, like the Duke of Westminster, who, if Meghan really wanted fame and fortune and money and without the press attention, she should have gone for the Duke of Westminster, because he's worth well over $1 billion, and it's all privately controlled, and they have tiaras and homes and private jets and everything. If the royals want to take a private jet, they take the Duke of Westminster's jet. Oh yes, they do. No stranger to taking on her enemies, she's understood to have been more wary than the Duke about this particular project. And I think too, I don't think Meghan's particularly media savvy in as many ways as she thinks she is. Now, she can put forth a good image. She's really good at portraying herself in this very genial, charismatic way, and very, she smiles in all the pictures. Like, it's difficult to find a picture where she's not smiling, because I look for them and they're hard to find. It feels like no matter what the situation is, unless obviously she was at the Queen's funeral, she's just grinning. Even if it's awful, even if they're being humiliated, she's just grinning. And to me, that always struck me as a mask, because it's like, show some real emotion. You're probably frustrated that you're shoved in the back here. Show it a little bit. You grinning is not proving to me anything. So I don't think Meghan is as media savvy as she thinks she is, because they are deeply overexposed. And I feel like Meghan also did an insanely humiliating appearance on the Ellen DeGeneres show. So Meghan has always wanted to be on Ellen, I'm sure, as a no-name actress who nobody cared about and who was never going to get an invitation to go on Ellen. She gets this invitation, and she allows Ellen to humiliate her and mock her. So you're not part of the joke. You are the joke. There's a difference. There's the difference between being in on the joke and being the joke. Meghan did this very undignified squat. She had to put like a crystal to her head. She was babbling nonsense. She had to drink from a baby bottle. She did like a cat thing. And so it's just like, and ate things like a chipmunk. So it was a very strange appearance. So she's not as media savvy as she thinks she is, because Meghan is so desperate for fame and fortune. But I think she also realized after a certain period of time that this book perhaps wasn't going to be the game changer, or going to be as good as they were thinking and hoping it would be. Prince Harry, burning with resentment towards his father, his brother, and the press, was fueled by a bitter determination to right the wrongs of the past. But his wife took a broader view. And you got to think about this too. Meghan has nothing to fall back on the way Harry does. Harry will always be a royal. Meghan will not. There's a difference, even in the royal community, between married in and blood royals. Blood royals always have more power. They will always have more power. Meghan desperately needs the power, the connection, the title, everything that Harry brings her, because she doesn't really have anything without it. And that can be deeply damaging to her if they divorce, because most likely she'll be forced to give up that title. And that's the only thing that makes her relevant on the international stage. And I think she's deeply, deeply aware of that in some ways. I think she's delusional enough to think that people should have always thought she was great regardless of the Duchess of Sussex title. I think she does recognize that if they lose that, they're really sunk. That said, once Harry had made up his mind and embarked on the 2-year process with ghostwriter J.R. Mooringer, the Duchess is said to have offered her full support and is immensely proud of his achievements. Yeah, looking like an idiot on the international stage, that's an achievement to you? Bravo. Is this the way she would have approached things? Possibly not, said one source. But she will always back him and would never have gotten involved in promoting such a personal project. This is about his life, his own journey, and his own perspective. But again, Meghan has an obligation, I think, as a wife to reel in her husband in certain ways. Because if I was Harry's wife, I would say, okay, once you're done with the book, I want to look through it and I will cross certain things out. I will mitigate for you, because we don't want a disaster on our hands. Our favorabilities are already low. They were already low. They were just going to get worse. How could they get better? So it's just interesting to think that Meghan just let Harry be thrown to the wolves in a lot of ways. And what it reminds me too is that when it came to the Mexit dealings, when they dropped the Mexit bomb, what did Meghan do? She fled to Canada immediately and left Harry to deal with the mess. And I think even when they had another meeting before the final Mexit in March, what did she do? She dropped Harry off in the UK and she fled back to Canada. And so it's this thing where I feel like Meghan, again, she lets Harry deal with the fallout that she helps create and then just abandons him in so many ways. Again, I understand that they left Archie in Canada, but I think it's still really inexcusable for you not to try to participate with your husband and not try to support him more and just fleeing to try to get as far away as humanly possible from the disaster that you have inflicted upon the world, or the bombshell that you have inflicted upon his family. Throughout the many agonized television appearances, the Duchess has remained holed up in their Montecito home. One source close to the Sussexes noted that if she had been involved in any aspect of promoting the book, she would have been accused of trying to steal the limelight. Perhaps, some suggested, she feels she has nothing to gain. And I think that's key there. Meghan has nothing to gain here because it all looks bad. It looks really bad. So what does she have to gain? Nothing. What does Harry have to gain by this? Nothing. He thinks releasing this will somehow fix the relationship with his family, that it'll somehow get them to agree to finally what he feels like is a much deserved apology to his wife. No, like anybody with any modicum of family understanding would know that this is a dumb idea. This is a really, really dumb idea. So Harry thinking that he can just la-di-da, just reveal this and everything will be fine and that they'll just skip down the road and they'll all come together, I think it's just incredibly dumb in a lot of ways. And I feel like, again, this all comes back and looks really, really bad on them. And Meghan has nothing to gain from this. And I think, especially when it comes to the personal dynamics involved here, she doesn't care, which I think is even more disturbing. Harry is contracted to promote the book, but also wanted to set out his stall and make public appeals for peace with his family, albeit juxtaposed with further barbs. Meghan has said her piece via Oprah Winfrey, among others. Meghan hasn't said her piece. She's threatened to release more. Of course she's going to say more. And I will say too, I feel like Meghan will, because they perhaps gave their best thing to Oprah, they'll have to come up with more and more extreme things and perhaps exaggerate things even more to try to regain the attention they got from the Oprah Winfrey thing and try to pull it in their favor. Because at this point, I don't think it's working very well because they're overexposed, people question their motives. And again, you got to think, in the reality TV show, they were reacting to nothing. They're like, there's a paparazzi in a scooter and there was nobody there. So I feel like there will be more of that. And there's just this more fantasy and delusion that the two of them have and that they build up together, because I feel like they wind each other up in a lot of ways. She has also let it be known that she kept a diary during her time as a working royal and has a lot to say until I don't, as she told The Cut last summer, words interpreted by some as a thinly veiled threat to the royal family. It takes a lot of effort to forgive. I've made an active effort, especially knowing that I can say anything. While the Duke has reason to reconcile with his family, his own flesh and blood, the Duchess is not bound by such ties. And that is critical. Meghan doesn't care if Harry mends his relationship with his family, and she doesn't care if she does either. She doesn't care to make peace with the royals at all. She doesn't want to. The only reason she has any bit of idea or any want to reconcile with them is she desperately wants those titles for her kids. And she desperately wants to protect her own title as well, because it's the only thing that makes her relevant, newsworthy, investment worthy is that title, nothing else. And so it's just really sad that Meghan has no desire to help her husband at all or encourage him at all to mend his relationship with his family. And you got to think to Meghan, again, because I don't feel like Harry and Meghan are very big planners or very long-term planners. What are you going to do, Meghan, if your children decide one day that they don't want anything to do with you? What are you going to do then? How are you going to handle it when you're on the receiving end of somebody kicking you out? I don't think she'll deal with it very well. And you just got to look at it and just see the sadness in the royals and wondering with Meghan, why don't you try to help Harry mend this? Why are you contributing to the strife instead of trying to reconcile, instead of trying to come together in these particular situations? It's just very, very strange. I think it's really insightful that Meghan just doesn't want really anything to do with Harry's family. But they're the only things that make her reputable on the world stage at all, is that family. But again, Meghan doesn't want anybody disrupting her narrative, her desire to have all this control that she thinks she deserves. So she's just going to push back against that quite a bit. She may back her husband in seeking peace with his family and with the peace of mind, but for her, they represent a miserable chapter of a life now left far behind. As such, royal sources have indicated they think it is unlikely she will attend the king's coronation at Westminster Abbey on May 6th. The book has hardly boosted the couple's popularity, with approval ratings falling on both sides of the pond. So yes, Meghan's life in the royal family, she could consider it miserable, but it's self-inflicted misery. It's self-inflicted misery. Meghan is not mad because the royal family was terrible to her. She's mad that they didn't make her the star of it, that they didn't go with every notion that came into her head, that they weren't just absolutely enthralled with the majesty that is Meghan Markle. That is her issue, I feel like. And they couldn't be all that invested in it. She married the spare. She publicly married the sixth in line to the throne. That was never going to change. That's never going to change. And I think she and Harry mistook the fervor over their marriage and the wedding, really, as something that means that they are the most popular royals. Well, yeah, you got married, but the Wales' kids are growing up. They're going to take the spotlight from you. William and Catherine will always be king and queen. So even if the spotlight moves away from them to you guys thought they were so jealous. They'll still be king and queen. They'll still be the prince and princess of Wales before that, and the Duke and Duchess of Cornwall. And they will have access to the Duchy of Cornwall, which is worth $1 billion. Do you really think they're that miffed that you're on the front pages, which they know will be temporary? Charles has always been bumped off the front pages for his younger siblings, for his young wife, for his young daughter-in-law. Like, that's been the case for decades. He's not miffed that Meghan was on the front page one time. But Harry and Meghan, again, they have this martyr complex. They feel like everybody was against them and that nobody listened to them and that they were ostracized. But it's like, but you ostracized yourself. The monarchy could not give in to your every demand. They could not make you the star. They could not make the whole family bow to what you wanted to do because you were a bit player in this. That's the role you signed up for. There's no mystery here. Harry and Meghan were very, very much the bit players in this scenario. And so this idea that they had that they could come in and change everything and that they could be, and I think they wanted to be, seen as the king and queen of the Commonwealth just ain't gonna happen. It was just never, ever going to happen. The Duke has been accused of stupidity. I did that. I accused him of that. For choosing to reveal the number of Taliban insurgents he killed in Afghanistan, and of hypocrisy for betraying his family's confidences whilst fighting for privacy. The Duke and Duchess have, for now, retreated together into the shadows as they take stock and digest how their many revelations have gone down. When they re-emerge, they will likely be together, just like those salt and pepper pots. Yes, so they may come out together, but will it be better? I don't think so. I think this whole thing has revealed to Harry and Meghan that their currency is much weaker than they thought it was. They really thought that as a couple they were the cat's meow, that they could release all this information, that they could tell their story, and that everybody would understand and everybody would be on their side. And that hasn't happened. People look at the stories and go, well, your brother's telling you you're delusional and paranoid, and you're confirming in interviews that he said that multiple times and that's what your family thinks of you. And you thinking that your family is all that horrendously jealous of Meghan Markle and yourself when they were going to be king and queen just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I feel like Harry has concocted, and Meghan, they are so enveloped in their own mythology that they cannot see beyond themselves. They cannot see the rational aspect of monarchies or hierarchies. The youth will inevitably take the attention away from their parents. That's eventually what happens. The Waleses will be on the covers eventually more than their parents. It's life. It's life. There's nothing wrong with that. And so it's how you utilize the influence that you have now will determine how things look decades from now. And so Harry and Meghan, they're just not good at strategy. They can't think through the long game in so many ways. And so I'm wondering if through all of this, Meghan has said, oh, Harry, this doesn't look good. And I think through all of this, I think they were shocked probably at their popularity rates plummeting, especially in the United States. They banked on this country bankrolling them for the rest of their lives. And as it turns out, Americans aren't that interested. And once you put your misery up for public consumption, you cannot control how people think about it. And I feel like Harry and Meghan really thought they could have this control over the general population. And most people are like, I'm not that interested in you. In fact, I dislike you. I actively dislike you. Harry and Meghan are really coming up to this point where I think the future is really in doubt for them. I think they're scrambling to figure out what to do next. Because this is what we know they have. The Invictus Games documentary in the summer and the Invictus Games. Those are the two things we know they have coming up. Spotify deal looks severely in doubt. The company got rid of 6% of their staff members, including the woman who signed them. And they are looking to cut costs. Harry and Meghan are a cost, and they're not a great return on investment. They may get axed for that. Netflix is going, okay, so your reality show did good, but the memoir seemed to do a bit better. Why don't we put the cameras inside your house? Come on, let's do it. Let's do it all like Kardashian style. Otherwise, Harry and Meghan's projects, the only other thing they have is Live to Lead. And that bombed. And Meghan talked about doing a romantic comedy, but is she going to write it? Can she actually create her own content? Can she actually produce something that people want to invest in and watch beyond trashing her in-laws? Because that's her whole brand. They haven't moved past that yet. So I think this is really the true test of Harry and Meghan. Can they move beyond their own narcissism and really embrace the future that they have potentially? Or are they going to be stuck just repeating the same mistakes over and over and over again? As the royal family continues to go from strength to strength, and they are sitting in the background and that they can't make any progress forward. So I think overall what this is telling us is perhaps Meghan realized that this memoir was a disastrous mistake, especially once you consider that the Queen died and everything went up in the air in a way they didn't anticipate. Yeah, I know. You would think two intelligent people, and we've been told many times that Meghan is very, very intelligent, would think through what would happen when her 95, 96-year-old grandmother-in-law died and her father-in-law became king, who they are cold with. You would think that through. But again, Harry and Meghan aren't great strategists. So what do we do moving forward? Well, I think Meghan is distancing herself from her husband because she sees the disaster. And what does Meghan do when her husband is in the midst of a disaster? She bails. She flees. She tries to get as far away from him as humanly possible, it seems like. So I wonder if that's what's going on right now. If there's a certain level of separation between them because, well, Harry, you said your piece, and as it turned out, nobody liked it. So guys, let me know what you think. Let me know why you think Meghan Markle is listening. Let me know why you think Meghan Markle is missing, and how do you think they'll come back? Will they come back? What will they look like? Let me know in the comments down below, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.